Welcome back to Paris and the game inside the games, presented by Microsoft Copilot. I am performance psychologist, Dr. Michael Gervais, here working at my 4th Olympic Games.
And I'm Olympic gold medalist Nastia Liukin, and together we're bringing you an inside look at the Olympics like never before. Do expectations make or break an athlete's Olympic dream?
It's a great question. And today we are going to talk with Lindsey Vonn, one of the most decorated athletes in skiing history, to better understand how expectations impact Olympic performances. Lindsey, welcome to the game inside the games. And before we get started, I want to take a moment here. You don't need an introduction, but a gold medal in the downhill in the 2010 Winter Olympics. Bronze medal in the Super G in the 2010 Olympics. Bronze medal in the downhill in the 2018 Olympics, 82 World Cup race victories, and 4 overall World Cup titles. That's a lot. Congratulations on a huge body of work.
Thank you.
And we're really excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, we're going to get right into your post yesterday. So talk a little bit about that. I'm going to first read the caption, and because it really made me emotional, kind of knowing the emotion that you had, just based upon your caption without talking to you. But I've always wanted to hold an Olympic flame, and today I became a torchbearer for the first time with many of my fellow Olympians. The flame is so much more than a fire. It's a symbol of hope, which we desperately need right now. What does that mean to you? Like, can you further explain that a little bit more?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, when we were kind of rehearsing for the torch relay, we all went through and talked about what sport we were in and what it meant for us to hold the torch. Mm-hmm. And it was so moving. I mean, it was, I don't know how many athletes it was, maybe 16 athletes, 10 athletes. And we were just talking about, the emotional part of it. And as, when you retired, it's different. Like, it hits you harder. And the Olympics are what you grew up dreaming about. It's not, you don't grow up dreaming about a World Cup race. That's what you do for, on a daily basis. But the Olympics are something bigger, and it represents something bigger. And, unity doesn't mean that we all agree on everything. It means that we come together to do something. And so that's what I felt like we were doing. And it represents, like I said, so much more than just a flame. It's hope and unity and peace. And there's so much of that we need in the world right now that I just felt lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah. Was gratitude a big part of how you approached competition and life in general?
Yeah.
Or was that relatively new for you?
No, so my mother had a stroke when she had me. And so she had a lot of physical disabilities because of it. And I had 4 siblings after that. So she was Wonder Woman, basically. But I always had the perspective that, I was lucky to be in the position that I was. My mother would have loved to ski with me and to do all the things with me, but she couldn't. And so I felt I had a responsibility to her and to my family to always do my best. And I think also because my sport is so dangerous, because I crash often, I think you have to be able to bounce back. You have to be resilient. You have to have a better perspective. Otherwise, when you crash, you won't get back up again. So that's always been the way I thought about it. But I think especially since my mom passed away, it's, just really reinvigorated that sense of urgency for me to live my life and to explore and to do and to be and to never have regrets. I think having regrets are probably one of the worst things in life. And so if I fall trying my best, then so be it. But I'm never going to, crumble under pressure because I got scared.
Yeah, I feel very similar about regret. You'd rather try, and I don't really believe in the word fail. I feel like falling and learning from that mistake. But I think within that, after you won a gold medal, there's obviously, I've experienced it. It's obviously a level of expectation and pressure that, in my opinion, at least for me, wasn't there before you won that gold medal. It kind of, the bar was raised higher, essentially. Did you feel that for you when you raced again the next time?
I felt the opposite.
Really?
I felt a huge sense of relief.
Because you've done it.
Because I've done it. Once you're Olympic champion, you're always an Olympic champion, and no one can ever take that away from you. And I felt like that is what I've been working for since I was a kid. And I had achieved it. My family had achieved it. And now this is just the icing on the cake. So I felt so free afterwards. I skied my best. I was a little bit emotionally drained, and we raced the very next day after I won the gold. So I felt like I could have gotten better than a bronze. But that was what it was. It's what I had left in the tank. But nothing mattered. I'd won everything else up until that point. And I'd won
everything else up until that point.
But so going into the next Olympics or any competition after that, when they announced you as an Olympic gold medalist, you didn't feel any more pressure like that you put on yourself or from others?
I put so much more pressure on myself than anyone could ever put on me.
So it never changed in between?
No. And, I think I got hurt only a couple years after I won. And I think the expectation there totally changed everything because all I wanted to do was get back out there. But no, I didn't feel any more pressure. I mean, I had leading up to Salt Lake or Vancouver, it was crazy. I was on the cover of magazines and I injured myself 2 weeks before. I hadn't skied. The world were saying I was going to be Michael Phelps and win 5 gold medals when I hadn't won, in all 5 disciplines that year. Like it was crazy expectations. And so, once I got one, it was just, this is all I needed to do. This is amazing.
So let's stay on that just for a moment, because the word relief indicates that there was an anxiety prior to it. So you're relieved when you're coming from an anxious state. So was part of your operating system, you talked about gratitude. How much anxiety was underneath the surface for you? And if I'm on the right path for you, how did you work with that anxiety? And then we'll dovetail it to the expectations piece.
I mean, I've had anxiety about racing since I was a kid.
Performance anxiety, general anxiety, in really intense, like nearly panic anxiety. Like how would you categorize?
I'm not really, when I was younger, I wasn't great socially. So I definitely had anxiety that I didn't fit in because I was never in school long enough to make friends. And I was never, I was always competing against girls that were 3, 4, 5 years older than me. So I didn't fit in there either. I was always in this like middle ground state. So skiing was the only place I felt like I fit in. So I loved skiing, but my first major international race when I was 12, my dad said, well, every girl that's ever won this race has gone on to win the overall title. I was like,
it's amazing what one sentence can do for
and that's why I always tell parents, be very careful what you tell your children because they will hang on to it
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, literally.
He's told you a lot of things. Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah. What would you have said if you could rewind that clock and have that opportunity? Or actually, if you could fast forward the clock and have that opportunity, what would you say to one of your kids?
I would say just try your best.
Period.
Your best is enough. Your best is enough. Doesn't matter what place you get, your best is enough. But I would have said, you can win, but just try your best. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's all there is.
So, and that would have created what for you?
I think I will say I've learned so much in that moment because that is the race that I figured out how to control my nerves.
Tell us more.
So I was second after the first run. And it was my dad, my grandpa.
With that extra little pressure that dad added.
Yeah, he told me the night before.
Right. So and you still performed with.
I still won.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was second after the first run.
Okay.
It was snowing. It was terrible conditions. I was in the starting gate and I was so nervous. I was just so tense. I was 12 years old, freaking out.
And the anxiety is in your body or it's up in your head?
It's both.
Because
whatever happens in my mind comes down to my body and my legs get tight and I kind of need my legs to ski. So it's like, but I just kept saying, I kept taking deep breaths and I kept saying, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And I just tried to use breathing. No one told me or taught me what to do.
I know. That's what I was like. I mean, my dad was my coach, so he kind of did,
and
but
he was
also,
an Olympian.
Yes. But also you don't really know what to do because you're out there by yourself.
Yeah.
No one's on the beam with you. No one's on the slip.
Can you imagine how much better we're training our athletes now? We're teaching them breathing. We're teaching them meditation and mindfulness and self-talk.
You guys are so lucky.
I know.
Yeah.
So lucky.
Right.
But then it's also the more is it, I put myself in that. And I think with the techniques, that would have been super helpful. But then now with social media and the more you know about other people's the competition, maybe that also could play in the mental side. Right.
I think it still ultimately comes down to how do you control yourself and your emotions? And no matter how much information there is, you still have to figure that out. I think it's easier to get to that point because there are different techniques and methods in which they can learn how to do that. But I think there's also a lot of distraction and there's a lot of,
that's your point.
You know, it's okay. And I like the support, but at the same time, like sunshine doesn't get you through, you know, the bad days.
Good and the bad, you know, it's like if overhyping and over like stimulating on the positive side,
that can be bad too.
Yes, absolutely.
That can be bad too.
So what practices did you come to learn or develop to be more present, to find that ideal state that you're looking for?
I internalized all the bad things that happened to me. I was like, this, you know, this is probably a great, you can be my psychologist for the day.
It just went dark.
Yes, it went dark.
Really dark.
No, but like, you know, I've had a lot of people over the course of my career tell me that I wouldn't amount to anything, that I wasn't good enough, that I wouldn't be, once I won, I wouldn't win again. You know, it's happened my entire career. So every time someone said something to me, I just put it in the memory bank. And when I got to the start, I use those emotions to help me.
Did you use it to help become more intense?
Yes.
So there's this fine line between intensity and anger. And I think you guys will resonate with this. If you could go into a starting gate or the starting position, anxious, angry, or poised, we'd all pick poise, right? Like that.
I would.
I'm fully here.
She's like, no.
Yeah. So, okay. So you wouldn't. You want more aggression.
I would pick mostly poised, but angered, like not. It's
not
you're not doing it
anger.
to prove people wrong,
Yes.
but it's definitely a motivating factor a little bit.
I think this is the gymnastics to use the mental gymnastics is to use whatever you use, sift it down so it's not burning you. Like the anger can burn you.
Yeah.
It
Controlling
can
the
get out of
percentages
control.
of each. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you can focus it to be more intense, like I'm here right now and I'm going to bring it.
Yeah.
That type of mental gymnastics to get to that state. Is that what you were able to do?
It's a little bit of anger, but it's helping you get the intensity and the presence.
Yeah.
That's important. And sometimes anger fuels that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, skiing it's very similar, like the precision in what you have to have. But I think with skiing, you have to be more aggressive.
Oh, 100%.
And so you need, like, that anger helped me. I mean, I think my Olympic run in Vancouver was probably the most present I've ever been for a race in my life. It was the most on the limit run I've ever had. And it was the best run I've ever had.
And did you start with that anger / intensity?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you were able to get to that place and then still find that openness to put it on edge.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't openness. Like, it was control.
There you go.
Precision. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Chip on your shoulder?
Always, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see that for sure. Okay,
Love
great.
to win or hate to lose. I'm a hate to lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. Your best piece of advice to your younger self. If you could go back and tell that little Lindsey.
I know. I get asked this a lot, but I wouldn't tell myself anything. I have to learn. You know, you have to learn the hard way.
I like that.
I need to fall to get back up and figure out how to not fall again, which I still fell again. But, you know.
It's awesome.
I want to learn. Yeah, that's how I learned.
I like that.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing your insights on expectations and how you work with pressure. There's so much that you have to offer the next generation of athletes that are trying to figure it out right now. You two are legends, and I'm honored to sit with you both.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
That was really fun.
It was. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Lindsey like that. So it was really cool.
And did you guys know each other?
Yeah, we've known each other for years, but never, you know, talking on that level is very different.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. You get to know the person, I think, a lot more.
You know what I appreciated is that she was very clear about kind of her model. So one, it was gratitude, and two, the anxiety that sits underneath. And that's a very agitating, difficult state to live in for an extended period of time. And anyone who has clinical anxiety or struggles with anxiety knows exactly what I'm talking about. But when you are facilitating or using that to be your very best, it's really hard to do. It costs a lot of energy. There's a required recovery involved. And then she also had a chip on her shoulder. Did you have a chip on your shoulder when you competed, or was it very different for you?
A little bit, I guess, but I think I wanted it so badly. I wanted to be like my parents, and they won world championships and Olympic games. And people would start putting the pressure on me to live up to their expectations. But I saw that as noise. I wanted to do it more than they expected it of me. So it's like
so there's expectations. Yeah, expectations can go a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Yours was like, look, I want this.
I want to be like them.
I know what those expectations are. Mm-hmm. I want to be like them, but I want it for me.
Yes.
And you were using that to drive. Hers, there was a whole different mechanism involved. And so I love the part of gratitude. And that's a practice. We're not born grateful. And so one of the very simple ways to do that is it's a research out of University of Pennsylvania where they found that people that would put their gaze on things that are good. Mm. And the research that, it's dubbed 3 good things. It's a simple little practice. And what they found is people that would identify and log just 3 things throughout the day that are amazing, that are wonderful in small ways or big ways. For example, somebody holds the door open for you and makes eye contact. And then you would say, this is one of those nice things. This is one of those quote unquote good things. And you write it down at the end of the day and you just log it, what the thing was and the emotion that came with it. That has been found to increase optimism and hope and gratitude and a whole host of really facilitative mindsets. And so that's one simple way that I think all of us can think about being just a little bit more grateful. And I love the clarity that she had on the anxiety. And I actually really enjoyed watching you two connect like, yup. Oh, that's different for me.
Well, in our sports are, we're both on the events or the slopes by ourselves. So there's a team behind you getting you there. But when the green light's on or the flag goes up, it's just us. So for her, she needs that anger that she talked about. Whereas I'm on a 4-inch wide balance beam. You can't really have that much anger. You have to be very calm.
Yeah, way less noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, now it's time for our AI Insights brought to you today by KPMG and Microsoft. Unlock the value of Copilot for Microsoft 365 with KPMG.
We want to hear our viewers' perspectives on expectations. Hey, Copilot. Design a LinkedIn post for our audience with a poll asking whether they see expectations as a motivator or constrictor of great performance. And create a caption for the post referencing this episode.
You got it, Nastia. Here's your LinkedIn post with a poll asking your audience about their perspective on expectations and a caption linking back to this episode. It's ready to post.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
That's amazing. Nice job, Copilot. And if you want to take the poll, we'll include the link in the show notes, or you can head to Finding Mastery on LinkedIn. And if you want to check out Copilot's takeaways from every episode, you can check those out on our website at findingmastery.com/thegames.
Thanks, Mike. We'll see you all tomorrow from Paris on the game inside the games.
I'm not very athletic, so to speak.
Okay, I said the same thing.
We should do another episode.
Honestly, I was not meant to be an athlete.
Non-athletic.
No, and it also doesn't translate into anything. If you're a soccer player, like you can run fast, you can jump, you can like do all these things. Like, what do you do?
I'm not buying it.